welcoming back once again the always rowdy Chris from the VHS Abyss podcast. We
Hey guys.
totally hello. We are talking all the various Saturday Night Live actors turned comedies, whether in movies or shows, anything that just adds on to it. It's always interesting just seeing which ones were able to successfully just take their shtick and just keep going for it, and which ones kind of suffered.
Yeah.
But how did you get into Saturday Night Live?
So I'm just a huge fan of the films that the various actors made, really, and that's sort of what made me aware of it, really. So first of all, Chevy Chase was just my ultimate like comedy sort of actor when I was growing up. So Vacation was like probably my favorite. It's like a family favorite, so we watched it religiously all the time. It's a Christmas Vacation as well. Still watch it every Christmas. Like have to watch it. If I don't watch any other Christmas film, it's going to be Christmas Vacation every time. So yeah, and then obviously Dan Aykroyd, all of those actors, but just such an array of like amazing comedy actors that have come from that show, and just brilliant. So yeah, that's how I got into it, really.
Very nice. Yeah, I always was looking at various, specials and interjections and reruns on everything from Comedy Central to E, and it was just, second nature that you ended up just kind of following just all the various people. And,
yeah, it wasn't really on sort of British TV as such or anything growing up. So, I mean, it was always like a back learning about these, the actual program that they came from. They were already megastars in England, like through the films, before I then learned where they came from originally, what programs they were on, going back to the 80s actors, but then, such amazing 90s actors as well, like Mike Myers and,
some crossover
like Will
with other. I mean, it's so often they'll work with people who are on all the other, sketch shows like SCTV, Mad TV, Living Color, and even freaking Who's Line. Yeah,
exactly. Well, which is your sort of favorite SNL actor or person who's was on it?
I think I grew up probably the closest to kind of the already kind of like as big as they were in movies as they were on the show, like you say, Myers as well as Carvey and Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy, and eventually I rounded myself up and I saw some of the early 70s era, like Aykroyd and Jane Curtin. But it was interesting just to see how just kept evolving.
Yeah, and it was great that they all made so many films together, because they'd already had that like comic timing together, so it was just so natural and just hilarious.
Right. Lorraine Newman has gone on to do a bunch of different Pixar voiceovers. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. There just seemed to be such a springboard for having such a successful career, really, and whether it be comedy acting, voice acting, and it's really knows how to create big stars, that program.
Yeah, it's pretty reliable. It's basically what they go for.
Definitely. Have you got like a top film, or
if we want to go to just, it's interesting just seeing how kind of Eddie Murphy's initial material, like when he's just running out the door, because that to me was just kind of his full test. Can I exist without SNL? And then he proved that, and then I just has literally just like the first Beverly Hills Cop, and then 48 Hours and some of his other ones. It's just Coming to America. It's interesting in how he just kind of just slowly just dove into that and just said, I'm going to try
Yeah,
out all these different improv, all these different characters, and make everybody happy.
definitely.
Um, which ones based on either a previous existing sketch or just their own uh, existing material would you say that you're taken to?
Um, I'd say, like I said, I love the vacation films from Chevy Chase. I loved. Do you remember Spies Like Us with Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd?
I do.
Um,
Yeah.
I love that film. The Wayne's World I used to love growing up as well.
Right.
Just so many like just come into my head really. Yeah,
Totally. Tim Meadows is kind of underrated. He seems like
yeah,
he pops up here and there, and you're like, "Whoa, why didn't he take off as much?"
yeah. It's strange, isn't it? Yeah, it's just a right time, right film, right script sort of situation sometimes.
Totally, totally. Oh, what's your take on Polly Shannon, David Spade, uh, Will Ferrell, Chris
Yeah, Will
Farley?
Ferrell is I love Will Ferrell films. I mean, yeah, the Step Brothers, Anchorman, yeah, Blaze of Glory as well. I love that film.
His initial Adam McKay collabs. It's just so
Yes,
wild that when
yeah,
I see him put his name on something, I'm like, where did he get all this extra money? It was like, well, he made plenty.
yeah, yeah.
Him
Well, he
and
knows how to
Elon
put a
shows
film
up
together.
too, and you're like, whoa, he's kind of the backup here.
Yeah, I love the more serious films he's done as well.
Stranger
Since
than
that the
fiction.
Big
Yeah.
Short, and yeah, he's got quite a unique take on a certain subject, and it really puts it across in an entertaining, engaging way. Like Vice as well, more recent one that he did with
Right.
Christian Bale. It's just it makes some what could potentially be a bit of a boring subject really is because he's got that comedy background. He just knows how to keep you, yeah, keep you engaged with it.
And to be able to just even make sense of any of it and just be like, hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, well, especially like The Big Short because it was all that financial mess, and it was. I love that they did that sort of fourth wall breaking sometimes just to try and like the you'd look at the camera and just explain, right, this is what's going on here, sort of thing. And it's, quite
Mhm.
clever filmmaking, really.
Totally. We got even John Lovitz. We got Michael McKean, who's, it's so wild how he joined SNL after Spinal Tap and the various Christopher Guest mockumentaries. And it's like, yeah, that
Of
makes
course.
sense.
Yeah. 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 Just so much so many amazing films have come from that show, really, that we wouldn't have had without it.
We need it. And even when you get to an inevitably bad season or lesser one, is like, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, Garrett Morris is another one, kind of forgotten, unfortunately. Uh,
And there's Jimmy Fallon, obviously. He was
I
quite a
definitely
big
preferred him on
SNL
there.
actor,
When
wasn't
he became a talk show host, I just
he?
wasn't
Yeah.
digging it. But
Yeah.
because when he left at his own jokes, it worked for the scene. It's wild how Bill Hader kind of made that be part of his shtick too, as Stefan.
Yeah.
We'll return after these messages.
Hello and welcome to Culture Shocked, the pop culture podcast brought to you by four aging millennials and our outdated opinions. Join us every Tuesday as we discuss movies, TV, games, and even music, new and old.
Dude, what do you think you're doing?
Are you seriously trying to record a promo without us right now?
Well, yeah?
Dude, you can't just do the promo by yourself. Who's gonna listen to that?
Yeah, and you probably haven't even told them that we're a pop culture podcast where we always agree on everything. For instance, the Sam Raimi trilogy, easily being the best of the Spider-Man movies.
No. But I think we can all agree that Jaws is a classical masterpiece.
Nope, don't like that. But we do all agree that the sequel trilogy of Star Wars is the best in the Skywalker saga, right, guys?
That comment is so ridiculous. I don't even know where to begin.
Anyways, that'll do it from all of us here at Culture Shock. Thanks for listening.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gabsy, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
We let things pile up in the DVR, we add them to our queues, we wait for the DVDs and Blu-rays. We time shift. The Time Shifters Podcast. Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, superheroes, comedy, action, film, television, maybe some not-so-current events. Find us on iTunes or at timeshifterspodcast.com.
Cool thing about Blind Knowledge is we are in multiple countries. We are worldwide all across the globe. We are in the US, we are in the UK, we are in Canada, Germany, India, Japan. We're in Australia, y'all. BlindKnowledge.com. Now back to the feature presentation.
But there's an actor who's, like you said, it's ones that you thought might have gone on to something more, but he was in. Have you seen Flight of the Conchords?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Stefan the laundrette guy. He was from SNL. So yeah, I thought I quite like him. He's quite a good comedy actor.
I'm trying to think of who that was.
He's the one. Is
it the third Concorde
much
episode?
You've seen Flight of the Conchords, but he's the one who did all the. So that's the New Zealand sort of band duo. It was TV series.
You're
Have you
right.
seen that?
With Clement and Mackenzie. I'm just trying to think of which SNL person you think.
It was the episode where he's like, he's an actor, but he's working in a laundrette, and he takes on the task of like pretending to big up Murray. So he rings Murray up and he puts on all these voices and is like pretending to be a record company boss, and he wants to sign up Flight of the Conchords, but he does too good a job at it. And he's quite good. But looking at more modern,
totally modern, yeah. Oh man, I love those guys. What's your take on how Jason Sudeikis kind of was like support and then just slowly kind of like shuffled through there, and then
he's huge now, isn't he?
Well, with the Ted Lasso character, he played it on NBC News, then he played it on there, and then he played it on SNL. So he's just going to town just with his quips.
Yeah, he's kind of a bit of a megastar over here with Ted Lasso's such a huge
right. He only came to Britain.
Yeah, we love our football. Soccer.
Right. Stupid Americans can't tell the difference. They're like, whoa, football.
Yeah.
No, not that football.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, what people are you surprised kind of never crossed over as much?
It's hard to say because, like I said, I really went back more and looked specifically at the actors that I liked from films, and saw their sketches, if you know what I mean. So because of that reason, I suppose I don't really know a lot of the ones who didn't make it. Like I said, because we don't get SNL on a network or anything over here, so you have to kind of really search for it and maybe look on YouTube videos and stuff like that. So I don't know. You could probably tell me more than I could tell you. Which ones are you? Which ones are you surprised about? Is there any particular ones that are really good on SNL but never really translated on film?
I'm surprised I mean, I'm cool with Kevin Nealon. He was always kind of that ensemble guy, and that was just playing it safe. It's just like, hey, I can do drama, I can do comedy, but I really am surprised that they didn't work on Chris Farley a little more, like get his
Yeah.
addiction in gear and just say, hey,
Yeah.
because he could have literally been kind of like how many envision how Brandon Lee could have been the Jet Li of his generation had he lived longer. It was that kind of thing. I'm like, he could have literally been bigger by Jack Black or some of those other shameless, self-deprecating comedians who are able to be very likable. And it's just a shame that he just kind of faded into the foreground and just had all this other depression. And it's like, jeez,
Yeah, it's so sad that, so many comedians sort of have that, really. It's just this maybe bit of a mask or like, that's sort of put onto or a bit of a front or a way of coping with stuff that you've got so much going on that no one knows about, I suppose, really. So, but yeah, I know what you mean there, really. Yeah. Definitely a huge talent.
Right. And seems like, before we had Maya Rudolph, Fred Armisen, Tina Fey, even Amy Poehler kind of coming into the foreground, like some of the others didn't really get as much of a draw. Like Julia Sweeney kind of got a bad deal with It's Pat, and it was like, well, I mean, the script could have worked, but it didn't,
Yeah.
Same thing with Wayne's World 2 is like, could have worked. It didn't really, You were happy they were back, but I think most everyone was like, hey, once you wore out the VHS tape on it, you just didn't watch it as much as part one.
Yeah.
It just didn't have that special ingredient that we got from the first one. And I mean, they literally added all these extra actors, but took all the other ones we loved away. And it was like, well,
yeah,
why do that?
Yeah, it's always that moment of like trying to recapture the lightning in the bottle kind of thing, really.
Yes.
Similar to what happened with Ghostbusters a little bit as well, I suppose.
Ghostbusters could have been reined in. I would have loved it had that started off as an SNL skit. That would have been funny.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of that, I mean, Superstar doesn't get talked about as much, but I saw that a bunch growing up. It's dumb, but that's kind of the fun, Oh man. Yeah, altogether, I mean, it seems like a lot of them are just kind of figuring so much out.
Yeah. What about sort of actresses, comedy actresses from
definitely Maya. Just like that Prince sketch was just so funny. It's the Prince show. Oh man.
Yeah, you mentioned Tina Fey there. I really liked her in the Steve Carell one with the was it date night, that one?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it's a fun film.
Very intriguing.
I think Kristen Wiig, I think, is probably my favorite to come from SNL actress wise. I think she's just hilarious, and like in Anchorman 2, like that bit with Brick with them there, and yeah,
and Anchorman,
hilarious. Watching the outtakes for that as well is just like probably
it is so
funnier than I don't know how they got through making that film. It's just so good. And watching the outtake, have you the scene in the first film where they do the song Afternoon Delight song, where the outtakes from that, it's like I can't look at you while I'm singing, sort of thing.
It's so much fun because you're basically just like they went to town and they just killed it.
Yeah, they actually made another film, didn't they, based on they did a lot of improvising and managed to kind of get another take on the film out of it from the outtakes, and that didn't get filmed. So yeah.
All this there's no telling how much is just left in the vaults that they can't show, or Right.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty.
Oh man. Oh, together. Who do you think has just like precise like comedic timing? Like, just
But I suppose it's quite a personal thing, isn't it? The comedy.
Swig and
You know,
Hater, they can make you like. I think why they've been surprisingly effective, like standalone actors, is that they're good at also just kind of just letting the scene breathe, not
yeah,
getting over commanding, and then at the same time just justifying why. Kind of like them and Will Forte have kind of been good at just showing, hey, this is the episode, and this is how this is how we do it. Like this is
yeah,
how we keep the scene alive and amusing.
yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, like I said earlier, it'd be Chevy Chase, Will Ferrell, Steve Martin. Like so many Steve Martin comedies I loved, and I loved Three Amigos because we had because Martin Short as well was always a big favorite of mine growing up. So
Yes.
those three together in that film, it was just hilarious how they played it so straight up, and yeah, amazing. And Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I think, was probably
Oh yeah,
right
so
up there with
underrated.
it. With yeah, one of my favorite Steve Martin films. So yeah, yeah, I suppose they'd be some of my top ones really. Mike Myers for the Austin Powers films, love those.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
they should totally bring that character back one of these days.
yeah,
In those
keep
different.
talking about it, don't they? I don't know. I hope it'd be. I don't know for how it in today's, if they'd still do it in the same way, or to get watered down from how they managed to get away with maybe 20 years ago, if you know what I mean. It's
Totally.
sometimes you don't know. I would like it, and then I don't know if I would with the end result as well. If you know what I mean.
You're right, if it would be worth it. Chris Elliott is kind of still just like Cabin Boy gets like a fine like every year. It's like I think it just got a Blu-ray. But yeah, it's just always interesting. Altogether, I mean, I'm just even more surprised that they find a way to stay present.
Yeah,
Totally. It's just kind of electrifying, really. I mean, it can't come easy.
no, definitely. I suppose there's a lot of material to work on with today's society where it just keeps giving, and yeah, the parodies of stuff that they play off so well, and yeah,
Totally.
there's always somebody to lampoon.
Lampoon, man, lampoon.
I suppose, yeah, the lampoons was a big sort of films came from SNL. The actors, the National Lampoon's sort of whole franchise really was pretty much, the cast was made up of SNL stars. Every
Yes.
film they released.
It's made it all inherit in one another.
Yeah,
Altogether, I mean, anyone who often just like, I can understand if you don't like a certain era of SNL, but to just act like some of these guys haven't gone on to be just very beyond talented, I don't see how anyone could say
yeah.
that.
No, you've got to recognize that it's just, I think every era's kind of had its stars, hasn't it? Like going from the very beginning in the like early 80s through to like all the way through the 80s into the 90s and right up until today. It's still going strong, still creating the biggest comedy stars like on the planet. So yeah, can't knock it really. Definitely.
Totally. I mean, Caddyshack's also just one of those like, it's a who's who of SNL while also just showing how bonkers they become over time.
Yeah. definitely. Yeah, like I said, for me, it was. It's always been, looking at what films came from the back of it, and then it's interesting to read what films then did start out as sketches that I didn't even know about, because I then went on to learn that afterwards. I didn't know with the Wayne's World and stuff, and which was the other ones that was it Night of the Roxbury? I think that was
yeah. That was the one that started off. Yeah.
That was yeah.
But I mean, altogether, I mean, there's very few that I can think of, like, had they not had the SNL connection, would they have been as successful?
No, that's the thing. Yeah, I don't think there probably would have been. No,
They needed that to get in the door.
Definitely opened a lot of doors. And because it had already got that pedigree and like the history of being successful, it sort of maybe creates that buzz already of like, it's expected to do well. But I think comedies, it's in general, it's a difficult time for like comedies in some ways, where it's hard to make it and not offend a certain, it's sometimes not easy to do a comedy that's too, I don't know how I'm trying to get my words out here, but like,
no, I know what you're trying to go for.
If you know what I'm trying to say, somebody is going to be offended by something at some point, and then it becomes a bit too anodyne and too middle of the road, really. So, but then I suppose time changes and comedy changes. A lot of it is timeless, like slapstick sort of type comedy, which I think Chevy Chase does so well, which I think is why his ones, like the vacation ones, really, I don't know if it's just for me, but they do stand the test of time, because it's just, a lot of the time it's just silly. It's just very, very funny, situational and awkward family situations sort of thing, which it never gets old, like everyone goes through and stuff. So yeah. But yeah, comedy is probably like my favorite genre of movies. So massively appreciate SNL for all the great films that it's produced from the back of its big stars from it, really. So it's it's been great to me. Many a good laugh.
I can only hope that they keep making us guffaw.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man. So where can we find you on the interwebs?
Right, yeah. So our podcast is called the VHS Abyss. So we're on all the main places where you can find the podcast. So Spotify, Apple, Google. We're also on all the socials as well. So yeah, get involved with our Facebook group, our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. Love to chat to everyone out there about movies, your favorite movies. Give us some suggestions, what we could review. We tend to do a head-to-head, and we pick a topic. It could be anything. This most recent one we did Monty Python. So we did Life of Brian versus the Holy Grail. And we kind of dissect it. We do loads of research, have a chat about the film, what we liked, pick out some funny scenes. And then at the end of it, we crown the VHS Abyss champion of the episode. So yeah, check out our previous episodes and get in touch with us on the socials. Give us a listen. Yeah, we'd really appreciate us, inviting us on.
Anytime.
Yeah. Happy to have you come on to our show as well.
Promise. Yeah.
We'll review one together.
Altogether, I mean, how would you describe this year so far?
How would I describe it?
Yeah,
it's been just such a good laugh. Do it. There's three of us that do it. We've been friends for about 15, 20 years. We all so like love films. It's what we do anyway. Just chat about films most of the time. So it's just great. Just revisiting some of these old films that we all love, and we share like stories about them. And there's a lot of the films that I've never seen before as well. So it's been great, like revisiting the old classics, but then unearthing either hidden gems or just totally rubbish films. But either way, it's a good laugh because we can laugh at them or just enjoy them and stuff. So yeah, it's been great, really positive as well. Like, we just took this up and we're kind of new to doing it, but the podcasting community is just kind of
it's lighting up.
Great, really. Yeah, people just get in touch and chat together with other podcasters. Obviously, we're based UK, but it's great just speaking to you over in the USA there. So it's kind of cool, really. To say we've only done a few episodes, it's nice to do this.
Have really all these international storytellers and just learn all these stories. You can learn more about the world than you would on the news. Just asking people
exactly,
right now,
yeah.
What's the weather like over there? It's not bad, actually. How about you? It's our winter. What? This time of year? Okay.
It's always winter here. It's like Narnia. Always winter, never Christmas.
Always something new that just comes out.
Yeah. Don't get a lot of sun over here. Mind you, this is getting a bit better. We like to talk about the weather in England.
And like to say, it's interesting having to just kind of get away from society and then just kind of explain yourself, like why I like these interests and everything, and why it makes me me.
Yeah, I see you guys are obviously really experienced. You've done a lot more episodes than we have, so it's it's good to
not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you finding, how did you get involved in doing this and everything?
Altogether, so I got into it in like late fall 2019, so just right on the cusp of COVID, and it kind of just encouraged us even more. It's just like, hey, the world's going to hell. Let's just continue.
Yeah.
Altogether, I mean, it's just you kind of want to just tell a story instead of just blogging all day or goofing off on our days off. It's just actually have a fun excuse to entertain other people and collaborate with other people. Is just there's nothing better, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good, really good.
But altogether, I mean, it's cool to kind of just have your take on it, because like I don't know what's as hot worldwide. It's interesting how it goes in waves and forms. Like certain Australian or New Zealand comedians are laughed off the stage in their hometown, and they come out and hang out in other places, and you're like, oh, I see.
What sort of do you like every kind of film, or do you have a favorite genre or kind of sort of stuff that you're into? Is it comedies or is it a bit
I
of
go
everything?
for a lot of comedy, but yeah, I mean, sometimes some mockumentaries won't hit it as much as you think they could, but it's still interesting to see kind of just the evolution of various films, and even just kind of like even Monty Python Illustrated, how these various comedians, were again not a big deal right away until much later.
Yeah. I mean, Monty Python. We just like I said, we reviewed those films and just I think they were maybe a bit of a forerunner to SNL with the. I don't know how familiar you are with like the Flying Circus and stuff before they did the films and the sketches that they did there.
Absolutely.
And so like such bizarre and so different, really. I suppose can't imagine how that would have gone down at the time when it first came out in the sort of late 60s, very early 70s. You know, just thinking of the culture and the society back then, for it to, you know, it must have been quite groundbreaking. And watching the Holy Grail, it's just like both films are just so amazingly done, like comedy wise, and have so much to say about like society at the same time, but not doing it in a way that's like too serious. And it's just, yeah, those films are just amazing. Sort of our pinnacle, I suppose, of you know, comedy. Although I like, I mean, what sort of British comedies are you into, film wise? Have you watched Shaun of the Dead, for example? That's probably another one of my favorites.
I think I have. The IT crowd I know is very big over here, especially with gamers and tech support people. Just the way it's just, even without the laugh track, like it constantly syndicates here on PBS stations. Kids in the Hall is another one, and hearing those guys talk about how they realized they weren't even that big in either Canada or Britain like you think they would be. They're bigger in like Brazil, and you're like, whoa. Okay, so
which is that one? Sorry.
Kids in the Hall.
Kids in the Hall.
Yeah, so Dave Foley and Chip Butter, Scott Thompson, all these other comedians who have worked with all kinds of people.
Right.
You know, and they very much like Spinal Tap. They kind of just made their success by just doing just such nutty skits, and kind of like Python, they just kind of moved in different waves, and
right, bro.
They just found the right brains to pick and just say, okay, you'll give us until this time to do this wacky stunt, and no one will get offended because it's just too weird. It's too out there. There's no, and I do have to applaud many comedians who are just, you know, encouraging each other to just be clever instead of, you know, encourage each other to break the rules and piss everybody off. You know, it's just like,
yeah, definitely.
Chappelle's show, I mean, you can still watch those, but Dave Chappelle nowadays just seems to want to divide his audience. And it's like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah. It's difficult times for comedians, though. It's like, you can't not, and, you know, I don't, it's hard to like, it's hard not to offend somebody. I know a lot of comedians that you've got to be careful. Really, there's a right and wrong way of doing it, I suppose. But it is difficult times where you've got to always be thinking and double thinking and thinking, well, what would they think of this sort of thing? But it is quite a divisive subject, I suppose, especially at the moment. You know, what is and isn't funny, and
yeah. What do you do when you're in that gray zone?
And it's quite reactionary. You know, everything gets put on all the social medias, and then everybody is And
if one extra camera picks up something else, you're dead. You know, you'll be like Will Smith, no fair, laughing and then trying to justify it by doing a slap on you.
Yeah. It is. It's strange times in a lot of ways, but I love you know, can tell by our podcast VHS Abyss, we're kind of a bit old school in our mentality, so we kind of a lot of the times do look backwards on a lot of our films and TV shows. So a lot of the time I do end up revisiting the old classics, really, rather than looking too much at the newer stuff. TV wise, I don't know how well how big he might have been for yourself, but are you aware of like Alan Partridge? Have you heard of Alan Partridge?
Steve Coogan is Steve Coogan. There's another one who's very big nationwide, and I can't believe it, or internationally. And
Yeah.
When he's not doing that, then he's, again, he's kind of like Kevin Nealon. He's doing a giant ensemble where you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, he turns up in a lot of films as well, doesn't he? I think for a time he was the go-to British
Thunder,
bad guy or British comedy.
Blow up.
Yeah. Have you seen Alpha Papa, Alan Partridge Alpha Papa? Have you seen that film? He made
the actual Alan Partridge movie
as his character, yeah. So
I think I did. It was like a Die Hard parody.
I loved it because he sort of kept to his roots because he's always like from Norfolk, which is part of England, which is like quite remote, and he based it there, and it didn't like make it big Hollywood or anything like, oh, Alan Partridge goes to America. He kept it, even though it was quite big budget. It was set in this radio station that in Norfolk, in the remotes of England. So yeah, he's probably my biggest like TV show in British comedy. But, yeah, for me anyway, like my favorite. And Ricky Gervais, like The Office, and
I know he's another one trying to get into Twitter wars, but there's no denying just how he's just very good at even making people cry. With freaking what's it called? Derek was very.
Oh yeah, and Derek and Afterlife is quite good. Yeah, the emotional. Yeah, just
even the UK Office. I'll still watch that. That's on Hulu still, and I see some people. I mean, and just to even acknowledge it and just act like, hey, we're kind of in the same universe as these other guys.
Yeah,
that are doing.
He's obviously quite famous as well for his award shows that he'd done there, and just. No holds barred, just the way he addresses the room and stuff is like yeah. But yeah, the Office was just groundbreaking in its mockumentary TV show style. I suppose you'd had that like with Spinal Tap with the mockumentary type and stuff, so not like totally brand new or anything, but for me at the time when it came out, it was just so fresh and amazingly, so cleverly done. Like, and that character, just cringeworthy. And he went on to do it with Extras, was so good as well. To brought in like the actors, but then Steve Merchant was more involved in it with the. He was his agent, wasn't he? I think that was a lot of the cringe comedy came from.
Life's Too Short, and
yeah, Life's Too Short is so good. Yeah. Yeah, the best one of that was Liam Neeson when he comes in. Have you seen that where he says he wants to be a stand-up comedian, and he does it just so deadpan. Love that. It's, very good. Life's Too Short. I'm gonna have to rewatch those.
By all means, they're all on there.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.